Hey guys, in this video I wanted to talk about some of the gear that I use for all my guitar demo videos, so stay tuned. So I've been getting a lot of questions about what kind of gear that I use in all my videos. I'll talk about some of the pedals that I use. I tend to gravitate towards this BARBER LTD pedal. I hate to use the word transparent, but I guess it's, you know, transparent. It's, you know, it's basically like a good tube screamer, but a little bit more nice in the mids to me. I'll usually set the drive low just so I can get a little bit of push into the amp. I don't like a super clean amp, and I like to have a little bit of dirt on it. So I'll either put this in front of it, or I like to use this GHS double barrel pedal, which is two overdrive pedals in one. On the left side, it's kind of like a tube screamer, like a TS9 tube screamer, and on the right side it's like a 808 tube screamer. And the cool thing about this is you can stack them in any order, so you can have the 808 side going into the TS9 side or vice versa. And I tend to like stack my overdrive pedals or my distortion pedals because I like to combine certain distortion feels and compression and all that. I just got this pedal from Solid Gold Effects called the ZETA Deluxe, which is basically a take on their ZETA distortion pedal, adding a boost switch to it. So it's similar to the double barrel where you have two gain stages to choose from, I guess. You can boost the drive or you can put it after the drive. This is actually a really good Marshall in a box type pedal for me. Fuzz pedals. One of the ones that I've been using lately is this Tone Reaper from Earthquaker Devices. I think it's based on a Solasound Tone Bender Mark III, which is the 3-knob tone bender. It's very musical. It's quiet for being a fuzz pedal. It sounds great with, you know, humbucker guitars, single coil guitars. Another fuzz pedal I've been digging is this Solid Gold Effects SASORI. I like it so much that I have two. This one I think is based on a Shin A companion fuzz. It's very buzzy. It sounds like if a buzzsaw and a bee had a baby. Stingy, mid-rangey. It can get really crazy when you crank up the fuzz. And one more from Solid Gold Effects is this If 6 Was 9, which I think is based on Fuzz Face. Has a little more control, a tone switch and a bias switch, so you can get a little more variation out of your fuzz. So when I record at home, I usually use delays after my signal in the computer. I still use delay pedals now and then, and on the road I've been using this Eventide TIMEFACTOR. The group that I work with, we have backing tracks to click, and I can line up all my delays perfectly to the BPM, and it just makes my life on stage easier. If I want to get like a rockabilly slapback tone, I don't have a real tape delay, unfortunately. So I'll either use a plug-in on the computer, or I'll use the Strymon CAPISTAN, which kind of models a tape delay. You can control the tape age and like the wow and the flutter, so you can get like, you know, all that tape noise and everything. For the ambient stuff, I'll use the Solid Gold ELECTROMAN. It's got this warp switch. It's a momentary switch, and when you hold it down, it echoes and echoes and echoes, and it creates this huge wall of sound that sometimes it gets chaotic, which is super cool. So before I go into my amps, I like to go into a reverb unit. The one I usually use is this big reverb tank. This is a Fender reissue. If you see my videos, you know I'm a big fan of like 60s surf. I mean, this nails it. Reverb built into an amp doesn't sound the same as tube reverb going into the front of an amp to get that surfy sound. And I'm also a big fan of Kid Ramos, who's a blues guitar player out in LA, and he uses a reverb tank for his sound. If you can't get one of these, I got a tip from a friend about a pedal that actually does a pretty good job of copying it. Behold the Boss 65 reverb pedal. This is the only pedal that I've come across that can get close to a real Fender reverb tank. I've tried, you know, some of the other pedals that claim to do it, and they come close. I found it harder to tweak it to get that sound. This one, I mean, you can set everything at 12 and it sounds so close to like a real reverb tank. So if you can't get your hands on a big reverb tank, or you don't want to haul it to a gig, I usually take this. For most of my videos, I tend to use 2 amps. The one that I usually use is my 60s Fender Bassman head. I can't tell you the year. I want to say it's like a 67, but I bought this a long time ago for 300 bucks. It's a simple amp. It's got a treble bass control and volume control. I always plug into the normal channel and I turn the bright off. That's kind of just the basis of my sound in the studio. It takes pedals really well, and if you crank it past 4, it gets a nice overdrive. The other amp I like to use when I'm going for something a little bit cleaner is this SWART AST. It's a cross between like a Fender Tweed Deluxe and like an old Gibson. Amazing reverb, which is unlike like a Fender reverb. It's its own animal, and the onboard trem is great too. Sometimes I'll crank it, but usually I'll leave it clean. I'll put it on like 2 or 3, and it's just got this great clean sound. It's very woody and open, and it's got this vintagey vibe. So I'll use that a lot. So for my amps, I go into my cabinets, which I don't use cabinets. For my first couple of videos, I was miking cabs. I had an ISO booth, and it was working fine, but nowadays, it's a little bit too loud for where I am. I don't want to disturb my neighbors. I've been actually going direct lately. For the past couple of years in my videos, I've been using a Palmer, I believe it's a PGA-4. It's a load box with a speaker simulator that I had left over from a tour I did a couple years ago. Recently I picked up this 2 Notes Torpedo Live, which is a digital load box. It's actually it's an analog reactive load, so it reacts the same, almost like a real speaker. What this has is has a bunch of cabinet models and mic models, so you can tweak your sound infinitely. And you can also import IRs, which are impulse responses. And if you don't know what impulse responses are, check out Pete Thorne's videos. He's got some really good videos on impulse responses. So from the Torpedo Live, I go into this UAD Apollo, which is my computer interface. I actually use some of the UAD plugins to shape my signal. I'll usually go into this API channel strip as my mic pre, and it's got EQ and compression. And I'll bus out to a reverb, which is the EMT 140 plate reverb. Sometimes we'll put like some delays on it, which if I do put a delay in the box, it's this Galaxy Tape Echo. But that's it, and it goes right into Logic, and that's the sound that I've been getting for all my videos. Well, that's how I get my sound, and I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button. I'd like to hear from you, so if you have any questions or comments, leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Hopefully going to be putting out more videos this year of me talking, so stay tuned for that, and thanks again.